So, Duke. So we had Fulham yesterday. Not a great match, I think it's fair to say. Let's go through the starting lineup, shall we?
Yeah.
So there we go. So Fulham, Areola in goal, back four, Tete, Anderson, Adabio Oyo. If I did that right, I think I did. Adara Oyo. We'll just go Tosin.
Yeah, that works.
Anthony Robinson, back four. Holding midfielders, Harrison Reed, Mario Lemina, two ex-Southampton players. Bobby Decordova-Reid, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and Ademola Lookman, he of the chipped penalty, and Ivan Cavaliero up top. For West Ham, we had Fabianski in goal, Cresswell, Ogbonna, Dawson, Soufal from left to right, back four. Declan Rice, Souček, Holding, Ben Rama, Lingard, Bowen, and then up top was Antonio. Substitutes for Fulham, Hector, Mitrovic, Rodak, Ream, Brian, Onoma, Maja, and Gisa and Aina, with Valbuena, Yarmolenko, Lanzini, Noble, Fornals, Diop, Fredericks, Martin, and Johnson making up the West Ham bench. So, first half. I know the weather wasn't the best, but what are your thoughts on the first half, Duke?
If you want my honest opinion, and I mean, you and me have spoken about this at length prior to this, it wasn't pretty. We just didn't get our foot on the ball. We didn't get control of the game. The boys, I personally don't think they showed up. No. You could say that about the first half. You could say that about the second half. I don't think they showed up. We looked sluggish. We looked slow. I've been looking at a few of the stats on the game yesterday, and none of them are pretty. No. None of them are any good. I mean, if you take into consideration, we could take the first half into consideration. We were diabolical. We didn't look like we knew what we were doing. We didn't look like we had a plan. We went out against Villa and we had a plan. We had a tactic. We had a set of the players had a set of instructions that this is what you do. This is how you go about it. This is where I want you to be when they have the ball in a certain position. This is where you want to be when we've got the ball. Fredericks came out with the sole intention of playing that right side and giving all the support that he could give to Soufal out there on the right.
He also, I think he looked quite good going forwards. I mean, I know a lot of people say he was brought in, obviously, to help shackle Grealish, which he and Soufal did fantastically well. But I thought going forwards against Villa, I thought he was a threat. And the thing that, and again, we discussed this, the thing that he brings that Bowen really doesn't is because he's a right-footed player playing on the right, as opposed to Bowen, who's a left-footed player playing on the right, who's going to tend to cut inside more often than not. Fredericks is going to take the fullback on the outside and really stretch the play. And I thought he did that quite well, which is why it didn't sit well with me that him having had a good game, that it was like, well done, Ryan, but you're on the bench now, mate.
Off you go, son. Yeah.
Yeah. I
don't think I can disagree with you. I personally think that we've gone out there against, and I don't want to keep going back to it, but we went out there against Villa, and we had a perfect there we go. We had a perfect setup. We looked right. Everything about that side against Villa looked right. Everything last night looked wrong. We didn't look like we wanted to be there. I know the weather was shit, and you look at everything else that you can take into account for what was yesterday's performance. We didn't look like we wanted to be there. There was no oomph, no drive, no desire. I've heard it's been called flat this morning. in another video of hers. Sorry?
It was the Liverpool game all over again.
Yeah. Again, something you alluded to. It's just two sides of the same coin. You know, we didn't respect Fulham yesterday, and they came out, and Villa came out with a game plan. Villa came out with a game plan, and they executed it 110%. I mean, they were flawless. The only thing they didn't do was score. Yet they tried to correct that mistake in, I think it was the 73rd minute maybe, when they brought on both Mitrovic and Josh Maja, and you could see they wanted to win the game. Now, all in all, I don't think the point's going to do Fulham a great deal of good.
No,
I think the point's going to do us better than it's going to do them. You know, Newcastle really do only have to pick up maybe 3 or 4 wins, and that bottom 3 are going to pretty much be where that bottom 3 are going to be. I don't think, as long as Newcastle pick up maybe 3 or 4 more wins, maybe just the 3 will do them, and they'll stay up. So the bottom 3 are really going to have a struggle on their hands. Now, what concerns me is full game. That is the most possession in one game that Fulham have had in their 20-odd games so far this season. No other team has afforded Fulham that much possession. 61% of the game is what Fulham sat on for that game. Now, when they played Brighton the other week, 2 teams in and around that drop zone, 2 teams fighting for their lives, it was 50-50.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that any team in the top 6, and I'll go top 6 because, Chelsea need to be included, any team in the top 6 that have gone to Fulham, gone to Craven Cottage and given up 61% possession? Now, if we want to compete where we're competing at the minute, and let's be honest, it is it's a bit of an whatever that word is.
Anomaly?
That's the one. It's one of them seasons.
Yeah.
It's one of them seasons. Very much the same as when Leicester won it.
Absolutely.
It's an anomalous season. Yeah. And it's not, we shouldn't be going to Fulham as a top 5 club, which right now, as we sit and we look at the table this morning, even with Spurs picking up the win like they did, which, by the way, just touching on quickly, see you later, Sam, bye. We shouldn't be giving up.
Get this on Big Andy's head.
Oh, I tell you, he ain't going to be able to keep that up much longer, is he? I've never been relegated. We didn't look like... Right? We can't go at Fulham and concede 60% possession. We can't. If we are serious about what we're trying to do and what Moyes is trying to attempt to do with the club, and at the moment, I get it's a bit difficult. He wanted a small squad. Yeah. He didn't want a large squad. He was quite happy working with a core group of players that he's got. Now, could that come back and backfire? Yeah, but Wolves managed it.
Yeah,
Wolves did manage it. They had a fairly decent run in the Europa League.
They went to the finals.
So I think they might be paying for it this season. But then you've also got to look that they lost 4 key players if you include the injury.
Yep.
So, but listen, as a top 5 club, we shouldn't be going to Fulham and conceding 60+% possession of a game. You can't tell me that Man U, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, Spurs, any of those top set of clubs that we consider the top 6 before we came knocking on the door. You can't tell me that they go to one of the clubs in the bottom 3, bottom 4, bottom 5, bottom 6. They certainly don't come to the London Stadium and give up 60% possession, even though we're up there with them.
However,
so I'm not impressed with the way they sat up last night.
The only thing I agree. I mean, to sort of go to a team like Fulham and have 39% possession, that doesn't look too impressive, I've got to say. However, I don't subscribe to the narrative that if you have a lesser amount of possession, you are in some way inferior. Because for me, I agree with the statement that possession without penetration, it's completely pointless. I'd be quite happy with 40% possession, or 39 in the case of yesterday, if when we had that 39% possession, we did something with it. Now, what worried me in the first half is I'll just have a look here because I've got the stat here. So the end of the first half, we had 39% possession. So that didn't change from the end of the first half to the match. However, what did concern me, and I suspect that this is the reason why Fulham had 61% possession and we only had 39, our pass accuracy was 75%. Fulham's was 85%. That, for me, is the reason why the possession stats were the way they are, because our passing game at that point was bang average. We had 4 shots that we managed to put in the first half. Only one of them was on target. Fulham managed 8. Again, only one of them was on target. That's fine. But they're where they are because they haven't got a proper goal scorer. And that's why we were quite lucky today, because if we were facing a team, if they had Jamie Vardy, if they had Harry Kane, number one, we'd have lost yesterday. Number two, they wouldn't be 18. So we got away with it. We got away with it. But our passing was absolutely shocking. And by the end of the second half, here's another one for you that was quite concerning. Our pass accuracy actually dropped by 3%. It went to 72. We got worse, and we were pretty poor to begin with. And going back again to the short.
No, you're there. Go on.
I'm back. Okay. Right. So second half, we had 4 shots more, but none of them were on target. None of them. Fulham, on the other hand, went from 8 shots at the end of the first half, 1 on target, to 20 shots, 2 on target. Now, again, so that's 18 shots that they had that never made it on target. Now, I just off the top of my head, in the second half alone, I can think of 4 clear chances that they had. You had one, I think it was about 5 minutes or so into the second half. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, one-on-one with Fabianski. Fabianski's coming out. He's putting pressure on him. Ruben Loftus-Cheek puts it the wrong side of the post. Chance 1. Chance 2, Ogbonna brings down Fulham player. They've got a counter-attack. Free kick on the edge of the box. Lookman puts it wide. Chance 2. Chance 3 and chance 4 were virtually identical. They were balls that came in, one to Loftus-Cheek, one to Mitrovic, snapshot on the edge of the box, wide. Now, again, we were quite fortunate there. Looking at the bigger picture, though, yesterday was disappointing, but trying to put a positive from a negative, we're still 5th. Or at least we were when the game finished yesterday. I don't know if the Tottenham result has affected it. I think
we still are. No, we still are now. I don't think the Tottenham result actually affects our positioning in the league, because I think we were 5 points in front of them with the same games played. I honestly don't think it's going to make too much of a drama for us. No, they now go to 36 points on 22 games. And we're currently on 39 points on 23 games. So although they've got a game in hand and a slightly better goal difference, the points are still the same. So there's not an issue on that one. My only concern, just to quickly go back on to and maybe bring it down a little bit and kind of be slightly concerned. Antonio wasn't at the races last night. I wouldn't be able to tell you what it is. I don't know whether it's going to be he was lethargic or what the situation is with Antonio. But he touched the ball 12 times during yesterday's game. 12 times.
I didn't even think.
Now, for a striker playing up on front, no, 12 times. He touched the ball once in Fulham box. He touched the ball once in the Fulham box. Now, for a striker that's playing up front alone, his hold-up play's got to be a little bit better to bring in the others.
Yeah.
He has been, and I'm certainly not slating Antonio. I think he's done wonders for us. Let's not mess around. He's been an important part of the process that Moyes is bringing together.
I think in fact he's the reason we're still a Premier League club, if we're being brutally honest.
Well, if you look at the end of last season, without a doubt. My concern is that Mipo Odebeko should never have played on Friday night.
Agreed.
He should never have been in that squad. Knowing that we've got the game on Tuesday against United, Lingard can't play. Why are you putting the pressure on Antonio to at least try and complete 90 minutes? I mean, you look at the fact that he's gone off and obviously I didn't see it personally, but there were shouts all over Twitter and some comments this morning that he grabbed hold of his hammy before he tried the last sprint that he made, and you could see that he pulled up quite quickly there. Mipo should have been the one to come off the bench. If anything, this is a game that Mipo could have started in the grand scheme of things and bring Antonio off the bench if needed, if things were going like they were last night. Now, Mipo's got a point to prove. He's got a point to prove. He wants to come into this team. You know, he said, let's be honest, he saw Afellay come in to the FA Cup, into the FA Cup squad, get his goal, a well-taken goal. And Mipo must be sitting there going, I want a little bit of that. I like that. That you know, that's a bit of me. But then we let Afellay go off to Bolton on loan, and now we don't have backup strikers in either of our squads here, in our first team and our under 23s. So now Mipo's got to try and lead the line on his own in the under 23s, but possibly still try and make himself available for the senior squad. Honestly, I'm fully behind Moyes. I am completely and utterly 110% behind Moyes. I am not against him in any way, shape or form. I'm certainly not going to go to town on the guy just because we lost against last year's champions and we struggled to pick up a win against Fulham. I'm not going to turn on him on that. One of those was to be expected, although we didn't. I think hype took us all away. Yeah, one was to be expected. You know, and yesterday, what's the excuse for yesterday? Why did the players look like they didn't even want to play? You know, Declan Rice had his worst game in a West Ham shirt for me for a significant amount of time. That first 20 minutes, I listen, I understand not getting on the ball and taking control of a midfield when you're playing against Liverpool. I get that. I fully understand that. But no disrespect to Fulham. They're in a position because they don't have the strikers. But let's be honest, every single one of our players walks into that Fulham squad. Not a single member of that Fulham squad, apart from maybe Mitrovic or Madger at the minute, would walk into our West Ham side, personally.
I think I would say the goalkeeper. And again, we've discussed. I've got concerns over Fabianski.
Yeah, okay.
I have serious concerns over Fabianski since last season when he got the injury. He has not looked the same confident and decisive goalkeeper that he was before. The goalkeeper that I saw in the first season and the goalkeeper that I've seen since the injury that he had last season, they are two different people for me. And again, we spoke about it last night, you know, the free kick that Fulham had in the second half that looped up off of the wall. If you watch Fabianski closely, he doesn't know, as that ball's dropping, whether he's going to punch it or catch it. and he's changed his mind. You see his hands; they're doing
kind of had claw hands.
Yeah, it's like make a fucking decision. Make a decision. Either you get 2 fists on it and get it clear, or you get a catch on it. All that sort of do I stick, do I twist? That he got away with it yesterday, but that's the sort of indecision that
He did because it hit Dawson in the face.
Yeah, but that's the sort of indecision that's got
the drop hit Dawson in the face. But yeah,
you know, and especially
again, Dawson has been brilliant.
Yeah,
Dawson's been brilliant for us, but Fabianski got lucky in that moment in time that Dawson was there, because right behind Dawson, I think it was Cavallero. Was standing directly behind him, ready to just go. Bing.
Yeah,
you know, that's team, if that doesn't hit Dawson, it's a goal.
Yeah, and
all day long.
Team, you know, if you've got a sort of like a significantly better team with a better front line than Fulham, that's possibly going to be the chance that separates the two teams, and that's where I'm a little bit worried. And I think that Areola, because he's from Paris Saint-Germain, isn't he? So he's on loan.
He is, yeah.
Now, Fabianski's 35 now. And
he is,
yeah. Had a couple of injuries. He didn't just have the one spell out injured. He had a couple of spells. So I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, okay, we're probably going to have to look at this. Do we have a goalkeeper that can come in and be your long-term number one? Darren Randolph is a very good. He's a very good championship goalkeeper, and he's a very capable Premier League number 2 goalkeeper. Would I make him my Premier League number 1? Absolutely not. No way. Would I put David Martin there? No. With the greatest of respect, he's the son of a club legend. He had that game at Stamford Bridge. Fair play. But he our number 1 going forwards? Absolutely not. Nathan Trott, jury's out. Jury's out on him, I think.
Yeah, without a doubt. I don't listen. There isn't. You know, we could sit here and we could rattle off every single goalkeeper at the club at the minute, and not any single one of them are good enough to go into that first team and stay there. Now, there are a couple. Go on.
I was going to say no, because I think that's why when you said sort of like the only 2 that walk into the squad from Fulham that could come into the West Ham team, in your opinion, were Mitrovic and Maja. I think Mitrovic in our current setup, would he work? I don't think so, because I think he's probably a slightly better version of Sebastian Haller. He's not the most mobile. He's not blessed with pace. And I think if we're going to play the way that we're playing, I think we need to have a striker with that burst of pace, and he's not it. But you know, if we played a slightly different way, could he come in and score 10, 12, 15 goals a season? Yeah, if we were set up right, but it's not the way we're playing at the minute.
It's not the way we play.
But Areola, I would definitely be looking at him as someone that could come in. Anyway, let's get on to the big talking point. So into stoppage time at the end of the second half, we've got a free kick. And there's a little bit of a coming together, shall we say, between Thomas Souček's elbow that brushes against Alexander Mitrovic's nose. Cue an Oscar-winning performance of him throwing himself to the ground, face, rolling around. And then as soon as Mike Dean goes to the pitch side monitor, I was sitting here watching it, and I said, the longer it went, him looking, replays, slow it down. I turned around and said, he's going to walk. He's going to get red carded. And so it
wasn't a red card in a million years.
No, and I don't know anyone that I've seen anywhere. I mean, you had Jamie Redknapp and Bobby Zamora. They were completely perplexed by it. Kelly Cates tried to give the explanation that Lee Mason, the VAR, had said something about a clenched fist. Well, just
no, there was none of it.
Never, and I've not seen anyone on any of the social media platforms, anyone on television, anyone on radio, anywhere.
Anyone that counts. There's been
2 people, and that being Lee Mason, the VAR, and Mike Dean, match official.
I mean, listen, there's been bits on Twitter and Facebook of, you know, opposition fans that are saying it's a red, and you can't buy into that for the simple fact is that if it happened to their team, they'll be doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
I watched it several times, as did Mike Dean, and my initial reaction on the first replay before he was asked to go take a look was he goes to lift his arm over him.
Yep.
To push him forward with the same hand, then get him behind him because you can see the crosses coming in. So basically the arm goes over, nudge him in front, and away he goes.
Yep.
Now, that's what he was trying to do. And Mitrovic doesn't move. And it's Mitrovic's right not to be moved. You know what? I'm standing here and I'm not moving. He wasn't doing anything that you don't see 20, 30, 40 times in a Premier League weekend. He was basically had his arms on Souček. Souček had his arms on him. The fact that he goes down like he'd been shot, the fact that he goes down like he'd been shot and holds his face, the fact that he goes down like he'd been shot, holds his face and rolls around, tells me that he was trying to get the guy sent off. Now, I don't see how Mason or Dean can deem that as, violent conduct. I don't see how Lee Mason can see a clenched fist. I don't see how they can interpret that as a deliberate action, because that's what the violent conduct comes down to in the letter of the law.
Right.
It's violent, it's deliberate action.
Right. Well, as you say that, I'm just going to share this with you because as you were talking, here it is. Can you see that?
Yep.
So, this is the FA's own website. So, this isn't me talking. There is in black and white. Violent conduct, which is what Souček got sent off for. Violent conduct is when a player uses or attempts to use excessive force or brutality against opponent when not challenging for the ball or against a teammate, team official, match official, spectator, or any other person, regardless of whether contact is made. In addition, a player, when not challenging for the ball, deliberately strikes, and that's the key word here, deliberately.
Yeah.
Strikes. I'm not disputing for one moment that there was contact. I'm disputing.
No, not at all. No, there was obviously contact.
But I don't believe.
Oh, yeah, that needs to be.
Went out to deliberately clock him, right? So that's the first key point. So in addition to a player who, when not challenging for the ball, deliberately strikes an opponent or any other person on the head or face with the hand or arm, is guilty of violent conduct unless the force used was negligible. Are you telling me that force that was used was sufficient to cause Mitrovic fall to the ground, clutching his face, rolling around? And the best of it was what happened after that. After Mike Dean's already gone over to the screen on the say-so of Lee Mason, he's seen it. He's already made his mind up. Then Mitrovic comes across and he's going, "Oh no, it's all right, mate. It wasn't a foul." He's made his mind up.
But then why go down like he did?
Exactly. That's the other.
And
thing.
that for me is the problem.
Cheating. That's cheating. And did you see the interview that Gio did with Mark Halsey?
I did indeed. Yes.
So there's a referee. There's a referee, and he's gone through it, and it's like, and he he said at the end of the interview, if that's a red card, this game's finished.
Yeah, I mean, I look forward to seeing on Sky they have the ref watch, don't they? First thing on Monday morning,
Yeah.
on the news channel. So I'll be. And who is it they have on there?
Dermot Gallagher.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see, because obviously he was the head referee for a while, wasn't he? So I'll be very interested to see his interpretation of that red card. I'd like to see. I mean, I can't see anyone, like you say, other than Mason or Mike Dean, that are going to come out and defend that action, defend that red card, because it wasn't. I mean, I struggle. I struggle with the ineptitude of referees at the moment. You know, you saw in the first game against Villa at London Stadium the way Grealish, and I'm not saying Grealish doesn't get knocked on the knee. What I am saying is he waits 3 or 4 seconds, grabs the wrong knee, and throws himself to the floor. Now, that's simulation in anyone's book.
Yeah,
that's wrong. You look at Souček in the game against Villa, when he gets fouled inside the box and stumbles, makes a play to Antonio and goes down naturally. That's a penalty. In anyone's book, in anyone's game, there's no advantage gained there. No advantage gained there, because I personally think Souček would have gone on and got a shot off. So there's no real advantage gained in that one. But Souček did the honourable thing, stayed on his feet, attempts to make a pass, then goes to ground. Doesn't matter. The action's already been made. He's already going to ground as he makes the pass. It's a penalty.
And I think that
you look at the red card.
Honesty, didn't he? That's the thing.
Yeah.
He suffered with his own honesty, and it's and that kind of ties in with the thing, because sort of like that to me doesn't fit the sort of like the characteristics. I mean, Thomas Souček comes across to me as an honest, hard-working player, and in the game against Villa, as you just said, he could have thrown himself to the floor. He could have thrown himself to the floor, screaming, clutching his knee, shin, whatever, rolling around, giving it the old, dying swan act.
Make VAR make a decision.
Yeah, penalty. We score. I mean, we won the game anyway, so it's kind of a moot point. But
then you can always go with the Mike Dean one against, was it Man United?
Yeah.
Bednarek. Now he was asked to go have a look at the monitor because of the foul by Bednarek on Martial. Now he goes off. He has a look. Everyone that I've listened to, TV pundits, a lot, they all said they were expecting him to go over and come back to book Martial for simulation.
Yeah.
Now I've looked at clips, and you know what? Yeah, there's a case to be made for simulation, not just in that game, but also the David Luiz sending off against Wolves, I think the day before.
Yeah.
There's no deliberate attempt to take the player out of the game. It's simulation, the way both players go down. Now, that red card made, in the grand scheme of things, very much zero account to that game. It was already 8-0 at the time of taking the penalty, made it 8-0.
Yeah.
So it made very little difference in the game. Much as the same as Souček sending off for us made very, very little, had very little effect, if any, on the game. My concern is they overturned Bednarek's, stating that Mike Dean got it wrong. It wasn't a sending off. Some claiming that it was even said that it wasn't a penalty. Now, if they're saying it's not a penalty, do we chalk that one off? Do we say, no, okay, it was 8-0? No, of course you don't.
No.
Do you chalk off the 9th goal? Because if Bednarek had still been on the pitch, they wouldn't have got the 9th. No, you're not. So Southampton could be in a situation by the end of the season where those 2 goals, because Bednarek was sent off, that they've conceded, could be the difference between, the BTEC Europa League that we possibly got coming in next year, or Europa League, or even Champions League. Those 2 goals could make a massive difference, or even relegation. Those, I'm not saying they will, but you get my idea. The same with Souček. I'm not saying Souček would have scored the header if he'd managed to get past Mitrovic and get that header from the free kick that Jesse Lingard was taking, but he might have done.
You never know.
Now, if he does get sent, if he doesn't get overruled, which it should. Let's be honest, it's not a red, but because of the fact that they've overruled Bednarek's and Mike Dean is their top official, don't be surprised if it doesn't. Don't be surprised if this doesn't get overruled because of they've already overruled the Bednarek one, and their top official can't be seen to be making two major game-changing mistakes in 4 days. So don't be surprised if this doesn't get overturned. But if we do lose him, now from what I'm gathering as at the time of doing this, we have appealed. So he can now play tomorrow, Tuesday. He can play Tuesday, even if they sit.
The only thing what I've heard is that he will be available for the Manchester United game, provided the FA's disciplinary committee hasn't sat in the interim.
Or from what I'm guessing, from what I'm gathering, it doesn't matter because we've lodged the appeal.
Yeah.
It may, even if they do sit Monday, the appeal's been lodged, so I do believe he is able to partake in the game Tuesday, which is massive for us.
Yeah.
Now, I might, people might be wrong, and what I've read and everything else might be wrong. And if it's not overturned and he misses it, that could cost us the FA Cup next round, quarter-final.
Yeah.
Because he's a huge piece of the puzzle. He misses the game against Sheffield United. Maybe could cause a bit of a problem. Maybe not.
They get a little bit of a run of form, and we didn't exactly blow them away at Bramall Lane.
No. So it could cause an effect. And then obviously one more game, or maybe two more games after that, which I believe are. I think we got United or City, Tottenham maybe in there somewhere. So it doesn't just mean it didn't cost us, the extra 2 points. That's neither here nor there. But it's what it could cost us going forward now.
Just looking, Duke. If he plays against Manchester United on Tuesday, and the red card is upheld, the 3 games he will miss are Sheffield Wednesday at London Stadium on Monday the 15th.
Sheffield United.
Tottenham at London Stadium on Sunday the 21st. And away at Manchester City on February the 27th. They're not games that you're looking at and thinking any one of them are a gimme, because as I say, I mean, probably the easiest one on paper there, I'd love to be able to say it's Spurs, but no, the easiest one is Sheffield United on paper. However, Sheffield United have come into a little bit of form of late. Their confidence is much improved by the looks of things.
Through the roof, wasn't it?
And we didn't exactly make them. I know we won, but it was 1-0. Wasn't the most convincing.
Wasn't pretty.
And so who knows? And if your top goal scorer, which he's missing, it's a big loss. And
it's not just what he brings to the forward of the team, though. It's what we're going to miss. That holding midfielder, that anchor man role. He's
got a massive.
To old school it.
He's got a massive. Yeah. You know what I mean? He's all over the place. I mean, the one criticism that I think people level at him, and fair enough, is that his passing game. It's not the best, but if you're a deep lying midfielder and you've got 8 goals this season, he's got 11, 12 since he signed for us in January last year. As a holding midfielder, that's ridiculous.
I believe if you take out the fact that I think the other guys have mentioned it before, he's the highest, he's the top goal scoring midfielder for players that are not attacking midfielders.
And he doesn't take penalties.
No. I wouldn't want him to take penalties. Christ almighty. That'd scare me.
Yeah. Mind you, we haven't had a penalty.
It's scared me taking penalties.
We haven't had a penalty since the Manchester United game at the back end of the last season. And that's the other thing. Who is our penalty taker? I mean, that penalty was taken by Michail Antonio, but that was simply because Mark Noble, who was on the pitch for that game, he said to Antonio, I'll tell you what, get you to 10 goals for the season, you can take it, not a problem. Because he's sort of like, he was in that run where he'd scored 4 against Norwich and he'd scored against Watford, blah, blah, blah. So
yeah.
He stepped aside. So, yeah, that'd be interesting, for me, if we get a penalty, which we're going to at some point.
Well, yeah, you'd like to think so.
Who takes it?
I mean,
who takes it? Because presumably, if Noble's not on the pitch, is it going to be Antonio again? I've heard talk. It could be Declan Rice. It could be Aaron Cresswell. I've heard his name mentioned.
He'd be my go-to, Aaron Cresswell. You could put it down to the fact that he takes the free kicks. I don't think it's that. I think his connection with the ball when he does take the free kicks that's what gives me confidence. It's a solid hit. No disrespect to Declan Rice. I could see him not making a good connection. Thomas Souček, you look at the goal he scored against Villa, it was a good connection on the shot, but the ball was in motion. It's not one of those ones you have to think about making a good connection because you're just swinging a foot at it. But for me, Cresswell would be my go-to. Maybe Jared Bowen would be there, and Jesse Lingard. I think can take penalties, but my go-to would be straight off the bat would be Cressy. I just think he's got something about him that gives me confidence of his penalty taking.
Does Bowen get into your first starting 11 at the minute? Because for me, I don't think he does.
As I said to you before this video, there was a game, Palace. I didn't realise he was playing until the second half. I didn't even realise that he came off the bench. Was actually on the pitch. I didn't even know. I will go back and I'll have a look at the stats for Jared Bowen, like I did with Antonio for the Fulham game yesterday. I'm going to go back and I'm going to have a look at the stats for Jared Bowen for that game. It was only in the second half as the camera panned round the back of him and he saw the back of his shirt with his name on. And I was on a watch along with some friends and I actually went, oh, he's played. Didn't even realise he got on the pitch against Liverpool. I don't think any of them covered themselves in glory, so I'm not really going to out him in that one. Villa, he was dropped for Fredericks, and then yesterday he came back in, and for what? Again, he's a left-foot player, playing on the right-hand side of the pitch.
Yeah, he's a right forward. He's not a winger.
No, and I think we're failing for that. I think we're losing good momentum going forward every time he wants to cut back in on his left or lay it back to Soufal behind him or Fredericks, depending on who's playing, to whip that cross in with that naturally gifted right foot. Again, you and me talking, I don't think he should have a weaker foot, should be able to do it with both, but at the moment that's not the case. So I think we slow ourselves up. I do think we slow ourselves up. I don't think, for me, against Man United, Frederick starts all day long. For me, Frederick starts all day long because you only have to look at the problems that were caused for Soufal down that right when Rashford came on. When Fernandes came on, their link-up play, Soufal didn't have a clue what was going on. And I'm not going to dig him out for that because I think that day he was playing right wing-back. I'm not going to dig him out for it. But for me, without being disrespectful to Rashford, because I think he's in a different league to Grealish, if it worked against Villa, let's go out and do the same thing against United. They've got the stronger players there. Don't get me wrong. If I was in a situation where we had both Fredericks and Masuaku available on Tuesday, I'd drop Benrahma and Bowen left and right. And I'd have my two wide midfielders in that game would both be Fredericks and Masuaku left and right. Right and left, sorry, because I think they just offer us that little bit more defensively. You could have your two in midfield, and then you'd have Lingard sitting in behind. Oh no, you can't even have Lingard. No. Well, you could have Benrahma then. You could have Benrahma in behind Antonio, and the hope that there's enough there with the two wide players with their pace, i.e. Fredericks and Masuaku, being able to bomb on to get the balls into Benny and into Antonio to do the job. But I want to see those two there. Now, obviously, we know Masuaku can't play, obviously with the injury. So for me, Fornell's out on the left to help Cressy with the defending. Fredericks out on the right to help Soufal with the defending. Your middle two, which should still be, fingers crossed, if it works, that Souček can play. Otherwise, who are you going to put in there? You're going to end up with Lanzini out on the left. Fornell sitting in with Deck. Because I don't trust Jared Bowen to do the defensive side of things on the left if it comes to it.
Yeah.
On the right, sorry, or even on the left. It doesn't matter. I just don't trust him to do the defensive side and support Cresswell or Soufal if it comes to it.
Here's a point that could be a little bit controversial, but I'm going to ask the question. Is David Moyes scared to substitute Declan Rice? Because he had 2 games in his last 3 appearances where he wasn't up to his usual high standards. And all right, maybe he wasn't the only one. But I can't remember the last time that Declan Rice was substituted, barring injury, at all.
I can answer that in one fell swoop, but I'll say yes. I think it could be twofold. For me, it's twofold anyway. I think one, he's frightened to substitute him because it doesn't matter how badly he's playing, there still seems to be something about him in the centre of the park that manages to do a job. And as you said yesterday, quite rightly so, he grew into the game as the game went on. So he got slightly better. He couldn't get any worse, but he got slightly better. So on that front, I think he's worried about taking away from the team. You know, let's be honest, Deck's passing he's probably one of the best passers at the club, without a doubt. On the other side to that, I think he's worried that if he starts substituting him, Declan Rice realises or comes to think that he's not as important to the club as everyone would like to think so. And he starts then getting in his head, come on over here, Mason Mount, in his ear roll. You know, they don't want you, Deck. They keep taking you off. Come, come somewhere where you're going to be appreciated. They don't appreciate you, Deck. Come and play for us. And I think Moyes has got both of those scenarios in his head. You know, one, taking Declan off does weaken the side when it comes to range of passing. 2, taking Deck off might start that ball of, the snowball effect of not being as integral to the team as he is, if you will. So I think, yes, I think to answer your question on two folds there, that Moyes is scared of taking him off pitch.
Okay, right. So last thing I'm going to do, just bear with me, Tutu, while I get people.
It's bloody cold in here. Oh,
we have obviously the game on Tuesday night. This was the team that was put out yesterday. What changes do you think are coming?
I think he's going to stick with the same. I think he'll stick with the same formation. I don't think he's going to. I would like to think he wouldn't mess around with the formation. I think you do need to be slightly more defensive against the United side that are fresh off the back of a 9-0 win. All right, they slipped up yesterday, but they still scored 3. So they still scored 12 in their last 2. And that's without going back any further. So those 4 players are going to be on form. I don't think Solskjaer's going to be silly enough to drop his key players for this. As much as I think they're going to want to go for the Premier League, they also know that City are slowly but surely becoming out of sight, and a win today would mean that they go a bit further. So they're going to go for the FA Cup. But for me, with this team here, I think Fabler in goal, that works. Cress, Bonner, Dawson. I certainly wouldn't change that. They and Sufal, the four of them seem to have a link up that works. Souček, if everything goes well with the red card, and I understand it as I do, even if it's not overturned, he can still play. I'd still keep those two in the middle of the park. Lingard can't play. I'd lose Bowen off of the right.
Yeah.
And I'd put Fredericks in there.
Agreed.
I'd move Ben Rama from, is he available? He didn't play for Brentford in the earlier league, in the earlier round, did he?
No, we signed him in the summer, didn't
we? We had him at the start of the season. Yeah, no. So Ben Rama, Ben Rama into where Lingard is.
Yeah.
And Fornals out there on the left. I think he works quite well with Cresswell. If we do lose Souček, for me, Fornals has got to go into Souček's position. Ben Rama will still stay in the middle, and I'd like to see Lanzini go out on the left, although that doesn't give us a great deal of pace on the wings. I just think it's strengthened slightly defensively. Bowen on the bench. I'd like to see Odebeko. I'd like to see Odebeko make an appearance on the bench. I'd like to think that I'm not sure what the fixtures are for the under-23s this week or when they're due to play, but I'd like to think that Moyes is going to put his foot down eventually and say, okay, look, we need him in our squad. He's obviously the one that allowed him to play on Friday. But I think he's kind of beginning to come around with the fans being, miffed, if you will, to be polite, that Odebeko's not even making the squad. So I think you'll see Odebeko on the bench on Tuesday. But yeah, that'll be my 11. My 11 for Tuesday night would be the same formation, the changes I've mentioned. But I'd also like to see Odebeko on the bench and possibly, a couple of the other youngsters, maybe Ben Johnson. Maybe Ben Johnson can come in and play on the left, and support Cresswell out there. Literally play the two the two of them as joint left backs. Listen, we'll see. I'm confident. I am confident that we can get a result against United if we play as we played against them in the first game. We should in the league game should have been 4-0 up at half time.
Oh yeah.
Should have been 4-0 up at half time. Yes, we were stitched up by a very bad, assistant referee call, VAR call, wherever you want to work it. That ball was. I actually think that ball made its way through the Stratford shopping centre before it came back onto the pitch for Pogba's goal. We had them rattled because he felt it necessary to bring on Rashford, to bring on Pogba, Fernandes, I think he brought on Greenwood as well in that game. So he brought on three very attacking players, knowing that we'd had the better of that game. And if we can go to Old Trafford, no fans, so it's very much it's a home game. Every game that we're playing here, it's a neutral stadium, if you will, because the only thing we have to do is travel. There's no fans. It's not like, and let's be fair, when West Ham fans do go away, the noise we make actually drowns out most of the reprobates at Old Trafford when they're singing anyway. So I think we still make places like Old Trafford and the new White Hart Lane and places like that, we still make them our own part of the world because the amount of noise the away fans make. But I think we're benefiting with no fans. So I would like to think we can go up there, play our game. Don't submit to their let us dominate possession like we let Fulham do yesterday. I think that was a key point of yesterday's poor performance was we let Fulham dominate possession, even from the back. Ben Rama.
I don't agree. I'm going to slightly sort of disagree with you. I don't think we allowed Fulham down dominate possession. I think we gifted them possession with our crap passing.
Well, we didn't. Well, we didn't press. There was no forward line pressing. So when they had it around their back four and their goalkeeper, we were 10, 15, 20 yards away. We weren't close. We weren't getting in and putting, Robinson and the other lads under pressure to make a mistake, or for the Areola to turf it over, over the scaffolding into the Thames. We weren't putting them under any of that pressure. So, yeah, I think we gifted them possession, like you say. They dominated it, but we let them. I just hope we don't go to Old Trafford on Tuesday and let United do the same thing, because the longer they have the ball, the more comfortable they become with the ball, the more dangerous United are. They've got some absolute speedsters in that side. Greenwood, Rashford, Martial, they're as pacey as. And we've got Ogbonna and Dawson, who, if I remember rightly, Ogbonna's FIFA card gave him, I think, 64 pace. Yeah, I could agree with that. I don't think it's great. And if we get pulled out of position and we allow United to dominate, they pick that pass and our back four come up slightly too high with the likes of, those three. And Fernandez isn't exactly, he's not exactly a poor passer of the ball. He puts that behind them, that our back line. They're going to be away, and they're going to. To be fair, they could score a bagful if we're not careful. They really could score a bagful.
If the West Ham that played at Villa, or the West Ham that played at Palace turn up, or even the West Ham that played the first half against Manchester United in London Stadium, if that West Ham turn up, game on. But if the West Ham that played Liverpool and the West Ham that played Fulham turn up, this is where
a bag full of goals.
This is where it ends, and it will be one.
We could be having. I'll tell you what. We could be having two very different conversations on Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. We could be having two very, very different conversations. We could be coming in, and you and me could be sitting down having a chat where, both of us is sitting here grinning. In fact, we could say, two different conversations. One of them would be the same conversation for two different results. Because if we turn up and play and get beat, I'll still sit here with a smile on my face, knowing that we went there, knowing that we tried and we gave a good game and we lost.
Yep.
And if we win, I'd still be there with you. I'd still be there, same conversation. We went up there, we got the win. I'll be slightly more buzzing with the win, but I'll be buzzing if we put in a performance. Or we could be sat here and you might have to dry my eyes for me, because if we don't turn up and we get spanked, I'm not going to be happy. It'll be one or two emotions from me. I'll be throwing things around this room, angry, or I will be sitting there crying, because I'm sick and tired now of the Fulham games, the Liverpool games, because we're not that. We shouldn't be that team anymore. We're a top 5 team, and we're a top 5 team on merit. We're a top 5 team on results because we've played well, not because we've come up against teams that have rolled over and let us tickle their tummies. We've not gone to Leicester, or we've not played Leicester and beat them. What was it? 4-0.
3-0 Leicester,
3-0 Leicester, 4-0 Wolves. We've not played those teams, and they've not turned up. We turned up. And we turned up. We dominated from whistle to whistle.
League last season, they were top 6 teams, and we were bottom 6. So
Leicester are second, third. I think second or third. Well, they're there for a reason, and we played them off the park. We were the better side. So, listen, we've got some games coming up, and I'm not saying it's going to make or break our season. Losing the FA Cup isn't going to be the end of the world for us. It'd be great if we could continue, but it ain't going to be the end of the world for us. Losing against Sheffield United the following week will be a disaster.
So that's
losing against them.
So this is.
Listen, we're there for a reason.
And look at that. If I'd have said to you, you remember we watched the Arsenal game? You remember I came to your pub and we were sitting there together? And that came on the back of the previous week, where again I was in the pub, we was watching it together. The Newcastle performance. That was a poor performance. The Newcastle one was poor. The Arsenal game was was a much better performance, but we
And
lost.
and we were stitched up by VAR.
Yeah. That then came
Should
on
have
the
been a
back.
red card and a penalty.
Those two results also came on the back of Grady Diangana being sold and all the fans being up in arms. And then we went out and stunk the place out in the pre-season friendly against Bournemouth. So you had all those things happen in close succession. If I had turned around to you then, after that Arsenal game, and said, don't worry, because in 21 more league games, we'll be sitting 5th on 39 points, what would you have said?
Listen, if you'd said to me before all of those things, before all of that, it wouldn't have mattered whether those games happened or not. If you'd said to me, before we'd even kicked a ball in pre-season friendly, I wouldn't have cared how badly we played. And pre-season doesn't bother me. I couldn't give two monkeys about pre-season friendlies. I really couldn't. And I never have. But if you'd said to me, literally at the final whistle against Villa, after 23 games, West Ham are sitting 5th, deservedly so, might I add, I would have laughed at you. I would have had you committed. I would have phoned the men in the white coats and gone, do me a favour, Gacy's lost it. But we dare to dream and we dare to believe, and we get sucked into this every season. We have an absolutely diabolical pre-season, and we go, oh well, it's going to be a shit season, isn't it? This one, and we all do it. We always have done. Oh, it's a shit season. No, here we go. No, not always. And this season proves it. And this season proves that, you know what? Champions League qualification isn't out of our realms of possibility right now.
No.
If Liverpool lose tonight, it's 1 point between us and Liverpool. 1 point between 5th and 4th. Don't get me wrong, I get the guys behind us have got games in hand and things can change quite quickly, you know, Villa, etc., etc. And we did them a favour last night with a point that the 2 points we dropped against Fulham. But in about 3 hours, we could be 1 point off of 4th place in the league. And if you'd said to me at the start, as I said, I would have had you committed. Even after 10 games, if you said to me in 13 more games, we're going to be sitting a point off of 4th place, a point off the Champions League, 9 points off of the top of the league, I probably still would have laughed at you.
Especially when you look at those first 7 fixtures, because I think a lot of people looked at the fixtures at the beginning of the season. What was it? Home to
I had us relegated after the first 7 games of the season.
I think a lot of people
had us down.
Yeah, I think a lot of people said you could conceivably be 7 games, especially after the first 2. A lot of people went, wait a minute, away to Leicester, at home to Wolves, at home to Man City, away to Liverpool, away to Spurs. You could be rock bottom on 0 points, minus
X amount of goals conceded. Yeah,
and your manager may well be down the road.
Yeah. But you look at that, and even after the first 2 games, you know, again, go back to you and me watching the Arsenal game. I thought we were superb in that game. I thought we had all the makings of everything coming where listen, I wasn't expecting it to come together so soon after the Arsenal game. I really wasn't. But it did. You know, Leicester, Wolves, City. I wouldn't have even given us a hope in hell against City. Yeah, it was a 1-1 draw, wasn't it?
Yeah. For a significant part of the match, I think we were the better team there.
We were the better team. Against Liverpool, we were the better team.
Yeah.
You know, 2 pieces of 1 piece of magic from Shaqiri. You know, with that pass, I personally thought it was offside, and there was other incidences in that game, but I'm not going to go back and you know, roll over that game again, because otherwise we'll be here forever. But again, I thought we were the better side in that game. You know, I came out of that Liverpool game, although we lost, going, yeah, that's all right. The same way I would if we put in the same sort of performance against United on Tuesday and lose. I would still feel good and upbeat about how we've played. But listen, the season, what we got 15 games.
Yes.
We had 15 games to go. We only need one more point for safety.
I don't know. I've always got this little thing in my head because I go back to the season that we got relegated in 2000. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But I always think, and that I know it was a weird season, but it's a bit like this is a weird season. But I've got this threshold. I know everybody says 40 points. I've got this threshold of 45 because if you remember rightly, we're the team that holds the record of going
for the most points.
The most points in a 38 game Premier League season. We had 42 points. Now we could have got, because we drew that last game at St Andrews against Birmingham.
Yeah.
We could have won that game, gone to 44 points. We still would have got relegated, but we were on an inferior goal difference. So for that reason, I've always had this little thing where I'm
you go 45.
No, 45. 45.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I could conceivably, I think minimum points that we need to be looking at should be 55.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean,
point out of each game when you consider we've got, all right, I'm not expecting to go to City and pick up maximum 3 points.
No.
I'd be happy with a draw. I'm not going to beat myself up if we go up there and lose. But you know what? We should really, and I'm saying we should really be picking up the 3 points against Sheffield United. So then that negates having to pick up a point against City for the 15th.
I'd agree. I think
I think 55 is a good target for us, and I think that'll be our most points in the season since probably 1836 before we were even formed. So I think it'll be good for us. I think Moyes is setting up. Moyes has worked out a scouting system that he now wants. Gold and Sullivan aren't getting their own way. Brady, well, who knows what she does, to be fair, apart from wind everyone up and write shit in the newspaper. I think we've got a long way to go before we can honestly say consistently this is where we'll be every season, top six. We've got a long way to go. We're probably 8 or 9 players short of a squad that I would be overly comfortable with. And by that, I mean a squad that I'm overly comfortable with, that Declan Rice and Thomas Souček, if they stay, don't have to play 50-odd games a season by playing the League Cup, the FA Cup, the League, and any other European football that we might get. That we're not relying on Antonio to play, every single game of the season. That we've got, 3 goalkeepers in our squad that are really muscling each other out the way. That we've got 2 players for every single position that are pushing each other for that place. Then I'll be happy. Well, I'd say about 9. I know other channels that you and I have watched have said, we're probably 3 or 4 players away from having a squad I think we're 9, because I would like maybe 3 strikers, Antonio and 2 others, to really be pushing each other every week. You know what? If you have a bad game, you ain't guaranteed to start again next week.
Yeah.
Same
to
with
away from that mentality of, we need a backup left back.
Yeah, no, there shouldn't be a backup left back.
We need someone to come in that
not at all.
Makes the starting 11 stronger and replaces and is better than what we've got.
And that's been our problem for years. That's been our problem for years. I mean, you could go back as far as, bloody hell, go back to the 90s when we had, we bought in David Speedy.
Mind you, he did a job for us. He helped to get us promoted.
But he came in as backup. He didn't come in as someone to challenge. It's just whoever had a mare then, and he walked into the team. But he was brought in as backup. You can't tell me that Simone Zaza or Cagliari or Guillermo Franco and all of those players that we've had have come in to make the first 11 stronger.
Wellington, I remember him.
Oh, Jesus wept. Savio. Right? I made a mistake that when we bought that guy, that I went, he's the next best thing. I think he's going to be great for us.
Oh, no.
I take nothing but stick, right? Ben Rama. Ben Rama's come in and I'm going, no, he's going to be great for us. I promise you, watch. And every time he misplaces a pass, if I'm doing a watch along with my brother and anyone else, I get, oh look, Savio's back. I take that, right? Savio wasn't great, was it? Let's be honest. Not quite
He was
Marco
a
Boone, but
record
the
signing
entire off.
as well, wasn't he? I think he was
He
a
was.
record signing. I think he was, what, 10?
Victor Urbina. Victor Urbina. Do you remember him? Jesus Christ.
I do.
Oh, there's been a few, isn't there? There's been a few.
Yeah.
Franco, Guillermo Franco was a little Mexican fella. He was only about 3 foot tall, wasn't he?
Yeah. We've signed a
And
few duds over the years, I think it's fair to say. Mido, mind you, in fairness to Mido, I mean, he was doing it on a relative shoestring for a Premier League player. He came in
Listen.
£1,000 a week. I mean, I wouldn't say no to £1,000 a week. I'd take it all day long, but for a Premier League
Listen,
player,
on transfer deadline day, okay, last week, transfer deadline day, you know, Facebook gives the memories, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. My Facebook memory was Mido and McCarthy has-beens. Let's see, shall we? Oh. Yeah, we saw, and they were.
The only thing that Benny McCarthy did, as far as I'm concerned, in a West Ham shirt, was sort of like eat half-time, not oranges, pies, half-time pies.
Yeah,
all the pies, we found out it's Benny McCarthy.
But listen, that was down to the trio of tosspots that we've got that are sitting in that executives box. Because who did we have in charge then? Yes men. Yeah. What was it Sam said? What was it Sam said? He used to come into work in the morning and go, "Who are you? I want the new signing." Dave, who's this fella? Oh, yeah, he's a new president for you. I just bought him for you.
That was Wellington. Apparently, that was Wellington Paulista. Apparently, that was a David Sullivan signing.
Yeah, he turns up and Sam's going for you.
Yeah.
What do you do? You know, what do you do?
But here's another little thing that sort of like I sort of saw in the week. And I remember it being said by Karen Brady, where she turned around and said, the club is not sort of like, you know, the money that we get from the fans or the customers coming through the turnstiles every other week, as far as the club's concerned, that amount of money that we get is negligible. The money that we get from the TV deals and the sponsorships and this, that's what pays for the players and this and that and this. Now we find ourselves in a situation where, guess what? They haven't got people coming through the door. No. And now they're trying to tell us, as a result, they're struggling. Excuse me, well, you turned around and said you weren't relying on that money. So what's changed? Either you lied then or you're lying now. Either way, you're a bullshitter.
Listen, they lie full stop. Let's clear that up. A number of years ago, they came in. Now,
I've just got to stop you there, Duke. In our opinion, that's now not actionable. In our opinion, they're bullshitters. Carry on.
In my opinion, they're tosspots. Now, allegedly, they bought the club for £1. Next to nothing. Took on all the debts, cleared the debts by loaning the club money. Now, they're fans. I'm a fan. You're a fan, right? If I own West Ham, I don't give a monkeys if I'm a businessman or not, right? I've got X amount of millions sitting in my bank doing bugger all, right? West Ham need a 40 million, 50 million pound injection of hello hand in the background, a 40, 50 million pound injection of money, and I've got that sitting there doing cool. Bosh, there you go. Right, I've paid that debt off now. Now the club owe me 50 million quid, right? Because I've paid that off. That's not a loan. That's me giving you 50 quid to clear that off. Now, I'm a West Ham fan. What I'm not going to do is take that 50 million pound and tack on a 12% charge for loaning you that 50 million quid. And then expect you to pay 12% on top of that 50 million pound back to me. I'm a West Ham fan. You pay that back. You pay that 50 million pound back to me as and when. Not 50 million plus another 12% on top, and I want it now. Like exactly what they're doing. Now, I've heard the phrase bleeding the club dry.
Yeah.
And you know what? If they continue to take the loan because that's what they're classing it as. They've loaned us the money and they want interest on repayment. Why are you taking interest on a repayment off of a team that you allegedly support? Now, if your 50 million pound in the bank isn't in a bank in this country that's earning you interest because you've got it overseas because you don't want to pay stuff, allegedly, you're not going to worry about interest. Why? That 50 million quid, you're getting 50 million quid back. You're not going to struggle if you only get 50 million and not 60. So for me, personally, I cannot wait. And if they do decide to watch this, please go now. But I cannot wait until they go. Yes, they saved the club when they did, and we've got to be thankful for that. But they've taken us out of they've taken us out of a stadium that was purpose-built for the game that's played in it. They've taken us away from our home. They've taken us away from our heritage and our history. They've moved us a little bit further away. They've given us a soulless bowl of a stadium. I've been there a few times. It's a soulless bowl of a stadium that makes for a better baseball stadium than it did for a football stadium. There are problems with that stadium. There are gaps. There are holes. It is a awful place. Yeah, we can't even call it home because it's not ours.
No. And listen, I've been to people's houses where they, we've got chatting and they've said, "Oh, what team do you support?" No, I'm a West Ham.
Not recently, I hope.
No, we 2 meters distance. But and they'll turn around to me and they'll say, what's the stadium like? And I'll say, I'm quite honest. Listen, it's a magnificent stadium, but it is not a magnificent football stadium. No. And there is no problem.
The sight lines for the baseball were amazing when I went, because I watched the Red Sox Yankees over there. Sight line for the baseball was amazing. Not going to lie. Sight lines for the football were pretty bloody good too. But you're quite far away compared to what we used to be. Let's not mess around. And also on the flip side of that, what is it between the upper tier bottom seats here and the lower tier top seats kind of being here, if you will, with this massive, great, canopy across whatever that is, like the scaffolding. You can still see the scaffolding now. Seriously, what are you doing? It is awful. Awful. Listen, I'll tell you what, right, I've got to go. I've got the missus glaring at me. You and me will sit down and we'll do a talk. We'll do a chat. Next couple of days, we'll do a video where I want to bring up the possibility of the sale of the club.
Yeah.
That may or may not include a few more changes to us and our history and our heritage. But I think it could take us over the hill and beyond any of our expectations. I really, and I think you and I have probably covered this at some point, like you say, in the pub when you've come down and stuff. But honestly, I want to do a video on it because it's controversial. I have some very controversial thoughts on it. A lot of people don't agree with where I'm coming from, what I believe for it. But if it brings us success, then pay the devil with one hand and take with the other hand, right? So, listen, I'm going to shoot.
Okay.
Because
wrap this recording up.
I can see her looking. We will. I'll drop you a message a bit later, and if you want to do another video tonight that we'll put out a couple of days down the line, whatever, then we'll do that. But yeah, I'm very aware. Obviously, you work Monday to Friday. Saturday, Sundays are really going to be the only time we can do a lot of this. But listen, let's make a go of it. But yeah, maybe we'll do the video later to go out, Tuesday or Wednesday. But we'll have a look.
Well, we're both just feeling our way in the dark at the minute, early days. So
literally, I mean, yeah, I've got no lights on, so as you can understand, it's got progressively darker as we've gone on. Oh, it's still snowing. Not as hard as it was, but it's still snowing. Okay. So no, I'll give you a ping. I'll ping you over a message. You do what you do, and we'll go from there.
Come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons. I'll see you later on, buddy.
All right, mate. Take care.